Welcome, my friends. Welcome to my world. I'm your host, Kevin Rutherford. It is Wednesday, March 30th. We are here live. We're going to open phone lines right now, so start dialing. It is a Destination Health Day today. We are going to do at least an hour of Destination Health. We'll see how the calls go towards the end. Still broadcasting to a smaller number, so without breaks, we get to a lot of calls during the hour, but I will tell you this, start dialing right now. Lines are open, and you will get through. It is a Destination Health Day today. Health questions only. To give you an idea of what's going on the rest of the week, tomorrow we will be bringing in Rolling Toe for the hour, and Friday we're working on an episode of Trucking Technology and Efficiency with John and Joel. So that's the plan for the week. We're actually giving you 1 hour of each of the segments. And phone lines are open, so start calling. I've got a couple things I want to talk about, and then we're going to get to the calls. Looks like they're starting to come in. So if you want to join us, jump in and dial right now. The number, 855-950-3835. 855-950-3835. We are going to get to those calls here in just a little bit. So a couple things. I left the house, got on the road about a month ago, and I did a couple things different. And I did what I normally recommend when somebody calls me. Start a new diet. Don't focus on supplements. Focus on the food. So what I started when I left was the diet that I'm working on, fermented carnivore. And just a quick recap, carnivore is simple. Carnivore means only eating animal products. So if we are doing a true carnivore diet, we eat nothing but animal products. So that means fish, meat of any kind, any animal, any bird, whatever, anything with a face, we can eat it. That also includes eggs and dairy because they come from animal products. So all the dairy products, yogurt, whatever. On fermented carnivore, you can eat as much carnivore food as you want, as often as you want. You'll find that you don't eat very much. I like to lean towards fattier cuts when I do carnivore so that I don't overdo the protein. I want to make sure I get enough fat, so I really tend to lean towards fattier cuts. Eggs add some good fat in there. Certainly butter adds good fat. Butter is a product that comes from animals. So all the carnivore you want, and then all of the fermented foods you want. And fermented foods can really stretch across a pretty wide variety. The one thing I haven't worked on yet that I'm going to start is possibly fermenting meat and fish. We do have the fermented beef sticks in the store. The Paleo Valley beef sticks are fermented. So you can ferment meat, you can ferment fish. Many cultures do. It tends to freak people out a little more than, fermented vegetables or yogurt or kefir or kombucha. All of those foods are fermented. So this opens up a pretty nice variety to add to carnivore, which is my problem with carnivore. I get really bored with it. I feel good. The more meat and animal products I eat, the better I feel. The fewer plants I eat, I tend to feel better and better. But I want to feed our gut microbiome as much as possible. I think that is still going to be one of the keys to advancing our health even further than we have so far. So everything fermented will feed our gut bacteria. Whether we do ferment fish and meat or vegetables or dairy, or there are other things we can ferment as well. I ferment a lot of condiments. You can make fermented mayonnaise. You can make fermented salsa. I make gallons of fermented salsa in the summertime when the garden's cranky. Fermented guacamole, fermented barbecue sauce, fermented hot sauce. I've been playing around with a lot of that. So the other thing that I did, though, when I started eating this way, just like I tell many callers, let's not worry about supplements. Let's see what we can do with just food. Even the supplements I know I should be taking every day, I stopped for 30 days. I wanted to see the results. So the results are kind of mixed in a good way, though. I think I'm learning something about this. The first 2 to 3 weeks of fermented carnivore with no supplements, I felt fantastic. It was an improvement. I wasn't trying to lose weight. I didn't necessarily want to lose weight, but I ended up losing about 10 pounds. Got down close to almost 140 again for a little while, which is about the lowest I've gone. Really leaned out. I don't have much inflammation. I never have. I test mine, 4 times a year, but it felt like I had even less. I wasn't doing the supplements that I know I need to. Vitamin D, I absolutely have to take, but I quit. I wanted to see what's going to happen. Light Balance, which I've taken since we started this 8 years ago, I quit that. The Cardio Miracle I was taking every day, and I quit that. So what I'm going to do now, I'm working on a challenge. It's going to be a 30-day challenge. So I'm going to take everything I've learned from eating fermented carnivore. I'll share some recipes, some ideas on how to eat. And I'm going to add back in the supplements now. And also, the other thing I quit, because I just really wanted to get a clean read on what the diet alone was going to change. I also quit everything in the Stress Busters protocol for the last 30 days. So I haven't taken any supplements. I haven't been doing any of the Stress Buster protocols. Not the breathing, not the cold showers, not the X3 bar, not the infrared and red light therapy. Haven't done any of it. I'm starting to think this week. Now, part of it could be the stress of the truck show, traveling again, had a breakdown in there. There was a lot going on. Had a couple late nights where I really didn't get to bed very early. I'm starting to feel this week like I'm paying a little bit of a price for not doing the supplements in the Stress Buster protocol. Starting to feel like I need to get back into that. So now I will continue eating fermented carnivore. I'm not going to change anything about my diet at all, but I'm going to add back in 4 supplements. 3 I know, 1 I haven't exactly figured out my strategy yet. I think I'm going to work on it today. So the 4 supplements I'm going to put back in. 2 of them I've been taking forever. Absolutely recommend them every day, and that is Light Balance and Vitamin D. Now, I was a little surprised the first couple of weeks without the Light Balance. I had no muscle cramping. And that's normally what I see. When I drop the Light Balance, I'll notice when I'm working out or stretching, I'll notice my feet sometimes tend to want to cramp up. That's a mineral imbalance. For the first, actually almost 3 weeks, I didn't feel any of that at all. And I thought, well, that's interesting. When I go hardcore keto without Light Balance, within 3 or 4 days, I'll start getting the muscle cramps back. And we've said, I don't know why, but we know the Light Balance works. I just started noticing, I'm a month into this. Today, I actually started doing some of the breathing and a little bit of stretching this morning, and I started to feel a little bit of muscle cramping. So we're going to go back to the vitamin D. I have to have that every day. Even in the summertime, I can just drop the dose some. Light Balance every day. And the new supplement that I started taking every day a couple months ago and really miss is the Cardio Miracle. So, the Cardio Miracle, one, really good for our heart, for our blood pressure, for our cardiovascular system. But I really believe it's also the supplement that I really feel best on taking every day. And it's an easier one for me to take every day because it's a powder and you put it in a liquid. So it does 2 things for me. There's a lot of nutrients in there, a lot of really good nutrients. And that's also why it's a powder and why you use so much of it and use it twice a day. Because with all those nutrients, I've told people, skip the multivitamin. There's no way they got all that stuff in there. And if they did, it's the worst quality. And that's the problem with trying to take several supplements is usually just the quantity. So powders work well. Cardio Miracle is an excellent everyday supplement, 2 scoops a day, 1 in the morning, 1 at night. That also helps me keep my hydration up. Because I get busy, I just don't think about drinking as much water as I should. But once I get into the habit of doing the Cardio Miracle once in the morning, once at night, that's another, 24 to 30 more ounces of water every day that I wasn't getting. So it's helping with my hydration. And I've noticed since I stopped doing the Cardio Miracle, I find myself dehydrated more often. And it's just because I'm not drinking enough. So any habit that gets me to drink more water and then I get all those nutrients in the Cardio Miracle really helps. Now, those 3 I've decided, Light Balance, Vitamin D, Cardio Miracle. I'm going to continue with the fermented carnivore. I'm going to add all the stress busters back in. And the other supplement I'm going to add, but I just haven't figured out my strategy yet, the ancestral supplements. They are all the freeze-dried organs. So liver, brain, lungs, there's all kinds of them. That's why I'm not sure what my strategy is going to be around ancestral yet. I may even create a mix in there somewhere where I'm doing 3 or 4 different ancestral. The way I think of ancestral supplements is it's food. That's certainly not a drug. It's not what we would typically refer to as a supplement because it's really just freeze-dried organ meats. There's nothing else in there. It's as close as you're going to get to eating all of those organ meats as possible. I'm thinking off the top of my head, if I only do 2, and I may only do 2, I may do an adrenal and liver. Liver's got to be in there somewhere. Liver's just way too nutritious not to have in the mix. So we're probably, I say we because I haven't even really talked about this with the team yet, we're probably going to do some sort of a formal challenge where you can join us. We'll create a group and a course. We're not going to go in depth. It's going to be a little informal. Not going to be a lot of money, but I think we'll run this as a challenge. I'd love to get some people to join me in this. And if I had to say right now, for everything I've learned in the last 8 years of doing this and working with people doing this, I really believe that what I'm about to do on a 30-day challenge is as good as we could possibly live. I just don't know that we could add much more to this right now. Always learning, always want to learn. But this is kind of like, for me, this is like the ultimate reset. There's 8 years of learning, working with people, reading, studying, testing things. What now do I believe is the best way for us to live and be healthy? And this is it. I think if we all do these things every day, I think we're going to be shocked at the levels of health we're able to achieve. So, wanted to give you a heads up on that. I would like to be able to launch this within the next 2 weeks. But I know the team already has a lot going on. So, again, this isn't going to be a big, formal, full-blown program. We'll probably just throw a quick package together, say, here's our start date. We'll put a group up on healthytribe.com and give you the list of the supplements, some recipes, the foods we should be eating. The Stress Busters protocols are already available. And we'll probably do, I'm thinking out loud here, probably do maybe a 1-week check-in, once a week check-in, maybe even twice. That's only 30 days. Maybe we'll do a twice-a-week check-in, a quick Zoom call or live session on Healthy Tribe just to go over results with everybody and answer any questions as we go along. So if you're looking for something to kind of turn around your health or maybe jumpstart things, or maybe you've been eating really healthy for 8 years like I have, and you want to know what the next level is, that's what we're shooting for here. I think I have the next level now, and now it's time to test it on a bigger scale, not just myself. All right. I had a couple other things, but you know what? Calls are starting to come in. It is Destination Health Day. We're going to do at least an hour of calls and questions. And if there's enough calls, we may go longer today. There's some things I want to get to, but if there's calls, we'll probably keep going, maybe do a bonus. So line them up. Here's the number. Call right now. Promise you'll get in. 855-950-3835. We are going to get started today in Texas. Paul, welcome to the program.
Howdy. There's a couple of things I learned.
Hey, Paul, hold on one second.
Let's try that again. Say howdy again.
Howdy.
There we go. Now I got you on
testing.
the right line.
Yeah. There's a couple of things I learned at the truck show. I think I'm in the top 20% health-wise of truck drivers in this country. And 80% of you are so out of shape you don't even know it. Yeah.
I would venture to say you're at least in the top 20% in the entire industry. If we were to break it down to, you're a couple days over 50, right?
Yeah, I'll be 57 this year.
Yeah, that's what I thought. If we were to break it down into
I'll be 58.
decades.
I'll be 58 this year. 58 this
Oh,
year.
there you.
My bad. See, I'm losing my mind already.
Well, we got to work on that. We'll have to work on that.
Yeah.
If we were to break it down in decades and threw you in the group 50 to 60-year-olds, I'll bet you might end up in the top 5%.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Friday, I did a lot of walking. I walked from Papa John's lot and walked around the show all day. I didn't sit down for at least 12 hours from when I got out of bed. And then Mark and I, we went into Louisville, went to a restaurant, and then came back. And then I walked from the truck show back to Papa John's lot again. Then Saturday, when I started walking back up there, the shuttle bus was right at the stop, and it's like, I'll jump on the bus. But I walked around all day Saturday and then looked at the show trucks and then walked back to the Papa John's lot and then met up with a bunch of my New Zealand buddies, and we went out on the town, and I didn't get to bed till about 3 o'clock Sunday morning. Slept till about 8:30, and then I drove up to Seymour, Indiana, and the Walmart's about 1.5 miles from the truck stop. Walked down there to get some groceries and walked back. Like I hadn't done enough walking in the previous 2 days. So.
Yeah, exactly.
I slept really good on Sunday night. I slept for nearly 10 hours. Had to wake up to pee, but went straight back to sleep. And then I got up Monday and just carried on like normal. So I wasn't feeling any aches and pains, but yeah.
Well, and you know, again, I know this, offends people, but you look like a normal, healthy human being as well. I've said people don't even look human anymore. You go back and look at, Native tribes, Native American, many tribes around the world that lived much more hunter-gatherer lifestyles, and they had a look. Their jaws were bigger. We've lost a lot of that. We can't really, it'll take us generations to ever change that again if we can. But body shape, everything, it's just, you look around and people do not look like normal, healthy human beings anymore. And unfortunately, at a truck show, it's even worse. And you're right.
Yeah.
You notice it when you start paying attention. You look around and you go, wow, this is actually a little scary.
Yeah.
For me, I look at it and go, holy cow, I have job security for an awful long time. There's a lot of people here that need what we are doing, and it's working. That's the good news. Now, how do we get it out there? How do we reach more people? How do we convince them that it's worth it? But I'll tell you the other thing that I'm noticing on this trip. I'm back with my own family. I'm the youngest of 7. And we don't have good genes, and genes are a part of it, but only a small part. We haven't had good healthy nutrition for a couple generations, and you can tell. My grandparents died fairly young. My parents died relatively young. I've already lost a sister. She was 17 years older than I am. She lived a horribly unhealthy lifestyle, though. So now I'm back here, and I'm really enjoying spending time with my family and helping them see this, and they're really taking to it this time. And the results are pretty incredible, just like we always see. Diabetes numbers go down, no medications, weight loss starts, all the things we always see. But it's even, I love doing it no matter who the person is. I love helping people with this. But I have to say, if it's my family, it's even more important. It feels even better to be able to help my family. They've helped me my whole life. So it feels good. And also some friends. I'm back in the area where I went to school my whole life. So I've ran into a couple friends and the same thing, helping them. More and more people seem to be open to this now. And that's a good thing. I hope that trend continues. They're asking questions. They want to know. They're willing to try things that just a couple of years ago, they weren't all that willing to try. So I'm encouraged by that. And I'm also encouraged by a lot of what I'm learning now. The really kind of tweaking and finding the absolute best. So now I want to do some testing with that. I've got a question for you, though. When did you move to the U.S.?
January the 17th, 2000.
Okay, so you were in your 30s, is that right?
35, yep.
You were 35, okay. So what was your diet like? I have this impression of New Zealand, and one of them is that New Zealand is always, as far as I know, their entire cattle industry over there raises cows the way they're supposed to be raised. New Zealand is like
eating grass,
Yeah, New Zealand is like an example for the whole world of how we should raise our animals. So Joel Salatin even went over there, I believe, and trained. It was either Joel or the other guy, I'm drawing a blank on his name. But I remember reading the first couple of books, and they talked a lot about New Zealand and how they went over there to learn, more regenerative farming. So I realized New Zealand was an industrialized nation while you were growing up, same time I was. So you probably had all the breakfast cereal and all the processed foods, and the canned goods became popular. But I have a feeling that if we were to compare your diet growing up to most people in the U.S., I'll bet yours was better.
I think so. Like a regular dinner time meal, you'd get your meat or chicken or whatever, but it wasn't uncommon to have 5 vegetables on the plate. And then my parents were not really rich, and when I was a kid, if you'd get a soda or a pop drink at birthday, Christmas, or Easter or something like that, but it wasn't something that you drank every day. And then I did have a while there where the truck I drove, I actually delivered Coca-Cola and the soft drink crap, and so we'd get free soda. So I started drinking more because I was getting it for free. And at one stage there, I was drinking a 2-liter bottle of Coca-Cola every day. That's what I drank. But when I broke my back, which was 1991, that's when I quit drinking Coca-Cola because I was in the hospital. I was riding in a truck tire tube, sliding down the ski slope, and it's great fun, but you cannot steer it, you cannot stop it. You're on for the ride to wherever you land, or it tosses you off. Well, that's what happened, and I squished a vertebrae down to about 1 centimeter.
Ouch!
And when I was in the hospital, they'd come around. You want anything to drink? No, just bring me water. Oh, you want a Coke, or you want a raspberry cordial? Just bring me water. You want anything to eat? And I did not eat for 7 days. And they did surgery. I got 2 6.5-inch steel rods and 4 screws holding me together. And on the 8th day, when my parents came to visit me, usual story, oh, is there anything you want or anything you need? And I said to my mother, I said, I'd like pizza. And she said that was the best thing I'd heard all week, is because I wanted to eat something.
Good. Yeah. Yeah.
And
so
15 days after I had that injury, I walked out the door of that hospital, and I was off work for 4 months, and I was back driving a truck 4 months after I broke my back.
Yeah, I believe that for the most part, you didn't have the ideal diet because there was some processed food. We were eating more sugar and cereal and that kind of stuff. But I think overall, America led the charge in the worst diet ever. I think at countries like Australia, even Great Britain, New Zealand, I think they were probably a year, maybe even a decade behind, when we really got bad. Now, most of those countries now, even New Zealand and Australia, have horrible
McDonald's
health numbers.
Crap.
Yeah, horrible health numbers. So there's no doubt, the pattern is clear. The more processed food we ate, the more sugar we consumed, the more preservatives, the more non-real food, the less healthy we get. I don't know that there's anybody left that could argue that, and yet our medical system still just ignores it.
Yeah. And a couple other things I want to point out too. Maybe this is the reason I broke my back. I don't know. It was to get me to quit drinking soda. But the week after I broke my back, my father was 2-pack a day cigarettes, unfiltered Pall Mall cigarettes, 2-pack a day. He quit smoking he quit smoking 2 days after I got back to New Zealand. He went to the convenience store because he run out of cigarettes. And the guy, and he'd smoked 2-pack a day probably for 40 years. Every childhood memory I got of my father, he always had a cigarette.
Right.
It was either stuck in his mouth or stuck between his fingers. And his fingers on both hands were nicotine stained brown. I'm
sure.
He went to the convenience store, and he said, 2-pack of Pall Mall plain. And the guy looked up, and he says, I don't have any of them, but I'll give you the filtered ones at the same price. And my father says, I don't need them anymore. And he quit cold turkey.
That's awesome. Seriously.
And he was 62.
Wow.
When he quit smoking, and he lived to be 85 and a half. So, yeah.
That's pretty impressive for a 2-pack a day habit for 40 years. You know what it tells us? It tells us how amazing the human body is. And again, I have to believe that your father, growing up in New Zealand during his time, probably had a pretty damn good diet.
Yeah, well, he was born in 1929, so.
Right. No processed food. They were farming correctly. Yeah. So let's think about that. He horribly abused his body for 40 years, 40 cigarettes a day. Like you said, to smoke 40 cigarettes a day, it's all day. There's almost no break in there anywhere. Yeah. So he was inhaling more smoke than he was oxygen during the day for 40 years, and he still lived to be 85. Try that today. Somebody wouldn't make it 15 years, I'll bet. If that, after 10, they'd probably be a wreck. I'm looking around again at people I know now that I'm back here in this area, and I'm just shocked by all the diseases they have, all the drugs they're on. And you know what? To them, it's just normal. This has become so normal. Yeah, it's crazy.
For 6 months after he quit smoking, probably 6 months, maybe even longer, he'd cough. It sounds like he was coughing up his lungs at times. And like,
I'll bet.
It was terrible, but eventually it stopped. But I guess he's just getting rid of all that crap. But
that's the amazing thing about our body.
So just one other thing I found out at the truck show. Radio makes me sound taller.
That's Yeah, you and I both. Everybody comes up to me when they meet me for the first time, and it's so common for them to say the same thing. Oh, I thought you were much taller.
Yes.
Well, on the radio, I am. Yeah.
Yes, yep.
Yeah, you and me
I'll
both.
carry
All
on.
right. Carry on. Good stuff. We are going to head off to Arizona. Mark, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks, Kevin. Still got that RV spot for you to come out and run against that congressman that put us out here.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
You just have to establish some residency.
Yeah, the one thing I have figured out on this trip, I either need to make up my mind and just replace these batteries, or I basically have to stay plugged in.
Okay.
You know what? It didn't dawn on me that as my batteries were starting to go dead, and I knew this was probably the year, I just haven't figured out if I want to try going all the way to like a Tesla wall. Thought about modifying this to put a Tesla wall in here and some solar. But I'm not ready because we just have too much other stuff going on right now. And I thought, well, no big deal. I'll just leave those batteries and I'll run off the generator. You know what? I just had an idea, though. Part of the problem is my batteries are drawing so much. And I talked about this the other day. I just forgot to go do it. I think I can go down underneath and actually turn the chargers off on my inverter chargers. That way, because what's happening is when my generator's running, the batteries are pulling so much voltage trying to charge that I'm getting weird voltage issues in other places. But I'll bet if I just go turn the chargers off, I might be okay. I'm going to have to work on that later. Thank you for reminding me about that.
Good deal. I sent in some blood samples for 2 years, 21 and 22 there for cholesterol numbers. We were going to go over them a couple of weeks ago, see if he came up for you.
Yeah, I've got them here. So if I had to guess, the early numbers were basically standard American diet, right?
21, and that was about 6 months into the giving up the standard American diet and eating as healthy as possible.
Okay. And were you losing weight during that time still?
Yeah, I dumped 30 pounds in like 6 months, and I've leveled off since that. For a year, I've stayed right at the 30-pound limit, and I'm okay with it. A lot of stress, a lot of outside issues were happening, but I'm okay with that 30 pounds. I'd like to lose some more, but the doctor wanted to, first thing that when those new samples from 22, the ones in, I think a couple of weeks ago, first thing he said, you need to go on the statins, and I told him, no, I'm not going to do the statin drugs. I've already heard too much about them, you know.
Well, and here's the thing. We can talk about cholesterol. I tell people most of the time in the beginning, just ignore it. There are so many other markers of our health that are more important. When you make a dietary change, your cholesterol is going to be all over the board for a while. So I tell people, look, don't focus on cholesterol. And many times that's what prompted them to change their eating habits. Their doctor says, oh, look, you're going to die of a heart attack. You better take the statin. Then they decide they want to change how they eat. And I just tell them, look, ignore cholesterol. It is, but I'm going to take a guess based on your new numbers. I'm going to guess that you're eating what we would probably call a dirty keto.
Exactly.
Okay.
No sugars, no wheats, no grains. Try to be carnivore as much as possible, an avocado now and then, and maybe a salad once in a while too. But no sugars and none of this. So I've never been a soda drinker, and I do the NDK coffee in the morning, of course, and then I've added, of course, I had no gallbladder either, so I've added the bio salts and of course a probiotic at night, and then the iron supplement in the morning.
What iron supplement?
Which one is it? The one in your store. If you'd say it, I would.
An iron supplement in our store?
The copper one. Copper zinc. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Copper.
Well,
That one. Yes.
You had me confused because I don't recommend
I'm sorry.
iron.
Yeah.
I don't recommend
Right.
iron supplementation for anybody.
Exactly. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. That makes more sense.
There.
Copper zinc is an excellent supplement
Yep.
to be taken right now. No doubt.
Right.
So,
And
how often do you eat at restaurants or out, fast food, that kind of stuff?
just twice a week I'll stop there and have usually I'll have breakfast or dinner. The safest thing I think I can have, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, and I say eat dinner for breakfast if you want. What about the quality of the meat you eat the rest of the time? Is it pastured or just basically whatever you can get whenever you can get it?
Yeah, just whatever.
Okay.
Ribeyes and yeah.
I didn't know any of that when I said,
looking
at your numbers, I'm going to guess that you moved from the standard American diet to dirty keto. Dirty keto meaning you're eating in restaurants, which we can still get a lot of benefits. I'm not saying that any of this is bad. It's a huge improvement, but I can tell in cholesterol numbers when somebody's eating a really clean carnivore or keto or paleo diet or whether they're eating a more dirty version. The only difference that we probably believe is long term. Short term, you get all the same results. I mean, dirty keto and clean keto, dirty carnivore, clean carnivore, the early results are all the same. Your inflammation goes away. Your blood pressure usually gets under control. Your blood sugar definitely gets under control. The one place we see a difference is in the cholesterol numbers. So your cholesterol numbers are way better than they were before. Your ratios are all actually good. None of them are ideal, but they're all good. None of them are poor or fair. So this was a huge improvement. Yes. I'm glad you're not going to take the statin. It doesn't do anything anyway other than lower the numbers. It doesn't change your health outcome, and the side effects are horrendous. So good choice there. And at this point, if you want to continue getting healthier, you would have to focus on that food quality.
Okay. I was really happy with the number of the triglycerides we had talked earlier. My triglycerides dropped a bunch if you look on there.
Yeah,
and
they
I
did.
think
You
that's
went from let's see, where were you? What was your triglycerides earlier? I thought I wrote that down.
Way over 100, and now they're down in the 80s, I think it was. I'd have to pull it up.
104 on the note that I
Right.
Okay.
Okay, right.
And now the one thing I will say, your doctor, did you ask your doctor for a particle size test?
Yeah, and that's on there too. I wrote those down and gave her those particle sizes.
Right.
They're on so I think that was the right numbers that he gave me.
They are. They're not
okay.
That is where we see the biggest difference between eating really clean carnivore or keto and eating more dirty, eating out more, eating more industrial meat. We see it in that LDL particle size. That's a place you could improve quite a bit, probably. Okay. In fact, if I had to pick what's worst about your cholesterol, it would be your particle size. You have a lot of small, dense LDL. That's not what we want.
Okay. And diet will be the main fix for that.
It's the only fix, really.
The only fix for it?
It's the only fix. You improve the quality of your meat and fat.
Cool. Okay. Thanks for the help, Kevin. Again, give me
You're welcome.
More to go for. And the gentleman was talking earlier about that smoking. I gave up smoking 8 years ago. 3 packs a day and busted into the 4th one, and I'm lucky I'm still alive. But it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I did it with a nicotine supplement, chewing the Nicorette gum. But then I ended up getting addicted to the Nicorette gum, and the Nicorette gum coming off of that was like a heroin addict coming off it because it was just direct nicotine into you. But it got me off of the carbon, the bad stuff in the cigarettes. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. I'd much rather deal with a pure nicotine addiction than a nicotine addiction that's delivered with a bunch of smoke and chemicals.
Oh, and it hurt. It hurt coming off the gum. Yeah, but it was the mental part, you know. And anybody out there trying to quit, it is possible. It is possible, and it's the best thing you'll ever do with your life. And then changing your diet too. You know.
Yeah, the fact that you quit smoking and change your diet is huge. I'm looking around at people I haven't seen in a long time, but I know well, and I'm looking at them and I'm going, wow, their lifestyle is really, really taking a toll.
Yes, you can see it. You can see it for sure. Do you have any help with any skin cancer issues?
Nothing specific. We still don't know as much about cancer as we should. I mean, think about this. The whole time I can remember, my entire life, the American Cancer Society has been around. They collect millions, if not tens of millions or more in donations, government funds. They've been doing it for decades. Why do we still know almost nothing about cancer when it comes right down to it? Something's wrong with that. Something's really wrong with that. So we don't know as much as we should know. My best advice for cancer is the same advice I have for everything else. Live the healthiest lifestyle you can possibly live. Eat the right foods. If we're missing a nutrient, take a supplement. Get outside in the sunshine. Certainly don't avoid the sunshine because we're worried about skin cancer. Don't use sunscreen. There's a big one. I think sunscreen probably makes skin cancer worse because it allows us to stay out in the sun all day. That's not natural. I can't stay out in the sun all day. I'd be in the emergency room by the end of the day with third-degree burns. I have very fair skin. That I'm serious. I could end up in the hospital if I spent too much time out in the sun. Yeah. But sunscreen allows me to do that. I don't think that's right. Plus, we're smearing a bunch of chemicals all over the biggest organ in our body, our skin.
Yes. Yeah.
So get out in the sun, but let your body regulate it. Without sunscreen, your body will tell you exactly when you're starting to get too much.
Your pain. Sure.
Exactly. You'll start to feel it. That's our natural warning that, hey, something that's really healthy for you in this dose, sunshine, you're getting to the point where this may not be as healthy. It doesn't feel so good anymore. So when we pay attention to our own body, I probably would also recommend some infrared red light therapy.
Never heard of that.
Well, we have the infrared sauna blanket in our store, and that is far infrared, which penetrates pretty deep into the skin. It's good for detox. It's good for our skin itself. I chose that because that's easier to use in the truck, and we get the benefits of both the sauna and the infrared. But I also am testing an infrared red light therapy device. It's not hot at all. It's just a panel of lights, and it's not far infrared. It's near infrared. Near infrared is actually better for our skin. So I'm testing that. I don't know if this is ever going to be really easy to do in the truck because the lights are kind of big and bulky. But it's something that, for drivers who get home more often, or if they do have space on the truck and they think they could do it, you can even buy some pretty small lights. The problem with the smaller lights is they only shine on a small part of your body and you have to keep moving it around. Whereas if you have a nice big light, you can do, 20 minutes, your whole body in front of the light, and you get all the benefits. So that's one of the newer technologies that I'm testing right now.
Beautiful stuff. Thanks again for all the help, Kevin.
You're welcome. And thanks for the call. Continue on with everything you're doing. You're on the right track. Let's go to Virginia. Daryl, welcome to the program. Let me try that again. There we go.
At the truck. Good morning, Kevin. Pardon me. I met you at the truck show, and you probably don't remember me, but I talked to you about I am on the statins, cholesterol, all that. I have no idea where to start, and I want to start living a healthier lifestyle.
Excellent.
I'm 54 years old. I've had cancer. I've had stents put in because of my cholesterol. Please help me. I have no idea where to begin.
Okay. how much are you willing to do?
Well, the problem is I'm a very picky eater. So that's going to be one of the biggest hurdles that I have to face.
Tell me the top 3 foods you love to eat and the top 3 foods that you would never put in your mouth.
Top 3 would be a hamburger, steak, and chicken.
Okay.
Yogurt I despise. I just don't
Got
like
it.
the texture. I've tried avocados. I don't like them. And anything with that kind of texture is...
Got it. You don't like smooth
hard
and
for
creamy.
me to... Yes.
Okay. Anything else you just despise?
No, not really. I love vegetables. I just don't get enough of them.
Well, maybe you do. We're not. You're not going to hear me, praise vegetables up one side and down the other the way we have for years. They're not that healthy. We had to convince people that fruit shouldn't be in your diet at all. If you are going to eat fruit, it should be considered dessert, and it should be considered a treat, and it should only happen once in a while. And that's only if you're metabolically healthy, which you're not. We know you're not. You've been eating the standard American diet for 54 years. You are horribly unhealthy metabolically. So fruit is just off the table. And vegetables, if they're fermented, we're going to do a lot more of those. You're not going to hear me say, oh, you should sit down and eat a big salad. It's not nearly as healthy as we've been taught. So when I hear you say the foods you love were all meat, that's a good thing. We're moving more and more carnivore all the time. After 8 years, we have found the less vegetables, the less plants that are in somebody's diet, usually the better their health outcomes are. We look at plants more as medicine sometimes. There are some plants with certain compounds that maybe we do consume to fix certain problems, the way we might use a drug or a supplement. But as far as having a ton of vegetables in your diet, I don't believe it's necessary for health. I'm not even sure that it is the healthiest way to eat. In fact, I'm almost convinced it's not, that we should probably limit the number of plants in our diet. And we should pick and choose the ones that are least problematic. So why would a vegetable be problematic? Well, do you ever know anybody that suffered with kidney stones and gallstones?
Yes.
They're fairly common these days. Those come from oxalates. Oxalates come from things like kale. Weren't we calling kale the superfood for like the last 5 years?
Yes.
Yeah, not so much. Spinach. Yeah, not so much. A lot of oxalates. And oxalates cause those stones. That's a problem. So there's a clear path to where it was actually plant food causing a problem. When we look at meat and animal products, they don't cause any problems in our health. None. We really can't link any issue of any kind health-wise to animal products. And yet we vilified them for years now, decades, and we keep saying how healthy vegetables are. Well, if we've been saying that for decades, look around. It's not working. Nobody's healthier than they were 10 or 20 years ago. They're much unhealthier. As a population, we're unhealthier. So we've been questioning all of the dietary advice for years, and now I think we're down to the last one. Are vegetables really healthy, and do we need them in our diet, and how many do we need? And I think the answer is going to be not many, not the way we've focused on it. So I think your timing is right. If you're ready to make a change, why not start getting prepared? And I said I'd like to launch my my fermented carnivore challenge here in the next week or two. Mm-hmm. Why not join me for 30 days on that?
Okay. I'd be up for that.
We're going to eat a lot of meat, a lot of eggs, a lot of dairy, and a lot of fermented foods. Fermented vegetables, I know for you yogurts out, that's fine. We get lots of fermented vegetables. We can do kombuchas, kefir. We've got other options for fermented, and that really I'm my theory now is this will be the ultimate human diet in today's world. What is the easiest way for us to eat as healthy as possible in today's world? Now, the beauty of this for truck drivers, meat and fermented vegetables, if we process them properly, which isn't hard, don't require refrigeration. We can all of our own meats. That no longer requires refrigeration. We have cooked, canned, high-quality meat that we can take in the truck, and we don't need a refrigerator. When we ferment our vegetables, doesn't need to be refrigerated. And those two foods, meat, fermented vegetables, should be the basis of your entire diet. So now not only have we made it as healthy as possible for every human being, we've made it as convenient as possible for truck drivers. Now you control your food quality, your food cost, and your health. I just don't know how we're going to make it much better than this.
Okay. When you say fermented, that's pretty much drying it out. Is that correct?
No, that's dehydrated. Very, very different.
Okay.
That is dehydration. When we take a food and we put it in a dehydrator and we pull all the moisture out of it, that is one way to preserve food, yes. Fermentation, what we're doing in fermentation is we want to grow good bacteria. And the interesting thing is the good bacteria is good for our health when we eat those foods, but it's also the good bacteria that preserves them. If you pick a cucumber out of the garden and you stick it in the refrigerator, how long do you think it's going to last? A week, maybe 2? Now, when you get them from the grocery store, they might last a month, but those are Franken vegetables. I was shocked when I started growing my own. They don't last very long. That's actually a good thing. That's the way it should be. But if I take that same cucumber and I put it in a brine of just plain water and salt. Now, we use good quality salt, not that garbage table salt, Morton's. A good sea salt, pink salt, gray salt, sea salt, kosher salt works. When we put that vegetable in a brine of plain water and salt, 2 tablespoons salt, 1 quart of water, now that pickle might last me 8 months in the refrigerator. It will probably last me a good 2 months not refrigerated. And when I say last, I don't mean that it's going to spoil. You could leave it out of the refrigerator for 6 months. It's not going to spoil, but it'll get soft. It'll continue to ferment, and the acid will continue to break down the food, and it'll start to get soft and mushy. You might even get some off flavors. But the ability to take a month's worth of food in the truck with no refrigerator is now actually pretty easy.
Okay. And that's a big problem for me in my truck is my fridge is so small. So
Correct.
It limits what I can take from home.
Almost everybody in the truck has that issue. Right. Almost everybody in the truck, unless you got a big giant sleeper and a residential refrigerator in there, which is pretty rare. Everybody has this problem, and that's been their excuse. Well, how can I eat good? I'm telling you. Now it requires a little bit of investment, a little bit of learning, and a little bit of work. But we have videos on our site on how to ferment. We have videos on our site on how to pressure can. So you are going to have to buy a pressure canner to can your meat. But now we have total control over our meat. We can buy the very best quality, have it shipped right to our house, can it, and I can can in one afternoon. I can can easily 34 pints of meat. When I'm on the road, a pint of meat is 2 meals for me. I can't eat a pint of meat at one time. So I'll open up a pint, I'll take half out, dump it in a bowl. It's already cooked. Might be pulled smoked pork. It might be smoked turkey that I do at home. It might be shredded beef. It might be shredded chicken. Could be ground beef. Could be sausage. All of these meats you can can. You can even can them already seasoned. Like I'll can some ground beef with my taco blend of seasoning, so I can do Mexican kind of food right out of the jar. We can even can full meals like chili and other things. And 34 pints in one afternoon. I now have 68 meals of meat in one afternoon. and I completely control the quality.
Now, would I be better off to buy my meat from a meat locker or like a Trader Joe's or a Wegmans?
I don't know what a meat locker is.
A meat locker is basically just a processing plant.
Oh,
for,
no, we don't want to buy our meat from any of the places you just mentioned. We want to buy our meat directly from the farm.
Okay.
And we want to know that the farm is regenerative and raised their cows on pasture. Their chickens should be on pasture. Their pork should be forested. The seafood should all be wild caught. So, no, we don't want those conventional sources of meat that everybody else eats. That's the garbage stuff. We want meat from farms like Joel Salatin's Polyface Farm, from U.S. Wellness Meats. There are dozens and dozens of these farms around now that all ship.
Okay.
So
and
part of
on your web.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say part of the challenge coming up is that you'll have direction on all of this. Yeah, I'm going to create a group. Are you on healthytribe.com?
No, not yet.
You need to be.
But I will.
That's where everything around health happens. All our recipes are there. Our videos are there. You can ask questions. I answer questions all day long on that site. We have members that are excellent at answering questions. That's the beauty of a social site like that. You don't have to wait for me to answer a question. Many times by the time I get to it, somebody's already answered. And if they were wrong, I'll say, let's clean that up a little bit. Here's what I think. But it's also good to have those different opinions. Once we start this challenge within the next week or two, there will be a specific group and an area just on Healthy Tribe where we'll get together once or twice a week. We'll do some live stuff. I'll answer all these questions for you. You'll have the links. Here's all the places you can go to order good quality meat. Here's the pressure canner I recommend. Here are the fermenting jars and lids I recommend. So the beauty of this challenge, it's everything I've learned about health over the last 8 years, tweaked and brought down to this is almost like our signature truck product. Years and years of learning about fuel mileage and maintenance. Let's try to build it all into one truck. It's kind of what I'm doing, and this is my first time for this. 8 years, we've gone from paleo to keto to nutrient-dense keto to carnivore. Now this idea of fermented carnivore and a couple of supplements, a couple of stress buster protocols thrown in there. This is what I believe is the healthiest possible way to live and eat as a human being in today's modern world.
Okay. And you said that's probably going to start in about a week?
Probably. I'd like to start it in a week, but, our team will want to do ads, and we've got some resources we'll need to put together. And right now our team is swamped trying to get our network back up and running. So I would say 2 weeks is probably more likely. In fact, I'm going to set a goal. I'm going to give us a little bit of extra time. I'm going to say we are going to start 2 weeks from this coming Monday. So it's actually a little more than 2 weeks. That'll give us plenty of time. We won't have to rush. And it will also give people time to start thinking about, can I get a pressure canner? Will I have a day to can some meat? Can I get fermented vegetables going? So those are two things I would tell people right now. If you're interested in joining me in this challenge, keep in mind it's going to be a lot of meat and a lot of fermented vegetables. You could go buy all of your meat if you want and not can it, but it's a whole lot more convenient when it's cooked and canned on the truck. And you can buy fermented vegetables in almost every grocery store now. I get them delivered out here to the woods every day. I get kimchi, I get real pickles, I get sauerkraut. So you don't have to prepare all this yourself. But if you want to get the absolute best results, then you should be pressure canning and fermenting. Oh, and with that, I just realized I've got to get out of here. We are all out of time. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Thanks, everyone. I'm Kevin Rutherford.